Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyoma Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Gukarastvandakaro vai Gukarasthannivartakaha Andhakara nirodhitvad Gururitya vidhiyate. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. The self or Atma is devoid of all the qualifications, all the attributes. It is natural that the self should be free from all qualities or attributes, because all qualities, attributes, names, forms, all of them become the objects of my perception. The seer must be different from what is seen, and all qualities, names, forms, attributes, all of them become the objects of my knowledge. Good, bad, red, blue, great, small, everything is all some object of my knowledge. So knower that I am must be different from that. So it goes to say that the self or the Atma is devoid of all attributes, all qualities, all names, all forms. Because then alone the self or the consciousness can illumine the forms only if it is formless. The light has to be formless to illumine all the forms. Should be colorless to illumine all the colors. So consciousness that illumines forms, names, attributes, qualities. It must be devoid of the attributes, qualities, names, forms, then alone it can illumine them. And therefore consciousness of self is devoid of, cannot become the object of knowledge, of perception, of sense organs, etc. So how do you know this? How to know the self? This question. And then, with that question, the next mantra begins. So let us look at the number 21 on the page 11. न सन्दृशे तिष्ठति रूपमस्य न चक्षुषा पश्यति कश्चनैनं हृदा मनीषा मनसा अभिक्लृप्तः ये एतद्विदुः अमृताः ते भवन्ति. So, description of the self. Na sandrushe tishtati rupamasya. If you see the translation, asya rupam na tishtati sandrushe. Asya rupam, the form of the self. Sandrushe na tishtati chakshusha. It does not fall in the range of perception. Meaning that Atma cannot be perceived. न चक्षुषा पश्यति कश्चन एनम. No one sees self with the eyes, meaning that the self cannot become the object of perception of sense organs. Naturally, it is the subject which sees three things through the sense organs. Sense organs are the instruments through which the subject perceives. Just as through a telescope we may see the objects that are far away. So I am the one, or my eyes are those which see through the telescope. You cannot expect to see the eyes through the telescope, can you? Telescope is the instrument with which I see things, but necessarily things other than myself. Eyes are the seer behind the telescope. With telescope, I cannot see the eyes. You cannot see the seer. The one who is seeing cannot be seen through the instrument of seeing. Just as eyes cannot be seen through the telescope because eyes are the seers. The seers cannot be seen. The subject cannot be objectified. The telescope cannot objectify the eyes, and therefore the subject eye cannot be objectified by sense perception, meaning that the eye who is subject, who uses organs of perception to perceive. I use the eyes to see the colors and forms. I use the ears, organ of hearing, to hear the sounds. Thus, I, the subject, uses these five organs of perception to perceive those respective objects. Again, I am the subject that uses organs of action, such as speech, to create sound, hands, legs, etc., to perform various activities. The subject cannot become the object of organs of action or perception, meaning that I cannot ride on my own shoulder. In English, they would say you cannot lift yourself by your own bootstraps. So one saint said, the next time you go to watch a circus, there will be all kinds of acrobats, all kinds of things they do. Offering, I'll give you 1 lakh rupees, meaning a lot of money. You just do one thing for me, you ride on your own shoulder. Even the greatest of the acrobat cannot do that, can you? No. The idea is that I cannot objectify myself. I cannot see. See, what I see has to be, the scene must be different from the seer. The pen that I see should be different from I who is the seer. Then only this perception can take place. There is always a seer, scene, subject, object difference between whenever any perception takes place. So, when can I become the object of my own seeing? When I am seer also and seen also. Now, these two are mutually exclusive. Seer is not the seen is not the seer. Therefore, I cannot simultaneously be the seer and the seen. Therefore, the subject cannot become the object of knowledge. The object of knowledge, whether object of perception, object of action, object of mind, object of intellect, all these various instruments of knowledge that we have, with that we can only know what is different from us. We can know the object. The subject knows the object through with the use of the instruments of knowledge. So, what the Upanishad says that the form of this Atma, the subject, does not fall in the range of perception. Naturally, Atma cannot become the object of perception. Na chakshusha pashyati kasyana enam. No one sees this with eyes. Meaning that eye stands for the organs of perception. No one can perceive self through the organ of perception. Meaning what I perceive has to be different from me. Has to be an object. Never. And subject cannot be objectified. I cannot split myself simultaneously that I am the seer as well as seen. The split cannot happen. Meaning that with the conventional instruments of knowledge that we have been given the instruments of knowledge. The organs of perception are our instruments of knowledge for knowing the objects of the world. The mind also is instrument of knowledge, intellect also instrument of knowledge with which we know things. But all those instruments are comparable to the telescope with which I can only know what is other than me. But just as a telescope cannot objectify the eyes which are the seer behind the telescope, so also with instruments of knowledge I cannot objectify myself. However, I cannot know myself with the instruments of knowledge given to me. And what to do? Remember yesterday we read that verse, Manasa evaidam aptavyam. This Atma has to be known by the mind only. Now again, the mind objectifies something other than Atma, which says Atma, mind has to be, Atma is mind only. We said how? The mind that is usually turned outward has to be turned inward. The telescope cannot be turned inward, that is true, but the mind which is usually turned outward and never objectifying things other than me can also be turned inward such that mind can know me also. Manasa eva idam aptavyam. It is by mind that this alone has to be known. So that's why the second line says, Hruda manisha manasa abhikruptaha. Abhikruptaha. The self can become the object of knowledge. The self can be known by Hruda manisha. By Hruda means the intellect. And manisha, the intellect that actually controls the mind, by that manasa. Manasa means by the jnana vritti, by the vritti that reveals the true nature of knowledge, by that mind, one has to know manasa mana rupena samyak darshanayana. So this passage tells us that even though the mind normally objectifies things other than myself, that very mind also, when turned inwards and purified, that mind is also capable of revealing the self. But you see, Swami, that you cannot objectify yourself. How do you know yourself? Now, there is a difference between those things that I objectify with my organs of perception and the Atma, in as much as these are what we call the unconscious or inner things. They do not have the capability of revealing themselves. Where Atma is self-revealing, that's the difference. So the thing is, this object such as a pen can be known only when it is objectified by the mind. Because this pen cannot reveal itself, therefore it has to reveal by the light of consciousness to the mind. But consciousness is self-revealing. So you do not require the mind to illumine. Therefore, it is not necessary to objectify myself to know myself because I'm already known, self-revealed. So understand that Atma is always object of our experience. We always experience ourselves, we always know that I am. Then the problem, what is the difficulty, Swamiji? It is not enough to know that I am, it is necessary to know that I am Brahman. That I am is always known to me. But then that I am Brahman, that also can, because Brahman also is self-revealing. Therefore, it is possible for me to know I am Brahman because Brahman reveals itself as myself. Then what is required is that the mind which is normally looking out has to be turned inward. In that mind, the self reflects itself. And therefore, the knowledge of self takes place. The recognition that I am Brahman takes place in the mind which has been purified. Therefore, for the intellect here, the word used is Manisha. Manasa Isha, meaning that which controls the mind, rules the mind. Meaning that makes the mind free from all impurities and purifies the mind. And which also listens to the teacher, that buddhi or manisha is subjected to the shravanam mananam, because of which the buddhi becomes prepared, and that way Atma can be made the object of knowledge of the buddhi, which has been purified and which has been subjected to the teaching, which recognizes that Brahman I am. So, it is possible to know the Atma through our buddhi when it becomes purified, when you become free from all impurities of extrovertedness, that is ragadveshas. When the buddhi becomes completely inward, then buddhi itself gets resolved in the self. The mind itself gets resolved because Atma is the very essence of the mind as well. And therefore, when the mind dissolves, when the mind becomes completely satisfied, that the mind becomes free from all desires, becomes free from all activities, then mind dissolves, mind becomes the self. So, here, knowing the self by mind is the mind becoming the self. Because knowing is revealing, self is always revealing itself. And so, when the mind resolves in the self, then it becomes the self, it knows that I am Brahman. Which fact exists that I am Brahman. Except that the mind was superimposing that I am not Brahman, superimposing body, mind, sense complex. When it stops doing that, that is when the mind sees the fact that I am Brahman. In a simple way to understand, just as right now mind sees the fact that I am a jiva, but today also we have a knowledge of the self. In that knowledge there are two elements. When I say that I am a human being, that I am is the true nature of the self, and human being is something that the mind superimposes upon the self because of identifying the body. When that superimposition doesn't happen, what is meant by purity of mind is when mind does not superimpose. And what remains is I am, and that is boundless, the boundless I am. And that's how mind, which sees right now wrongly the fact that I am a jiva, same mind sees that I am Brahman. In the same manner, because today also, without objectifying, because the I am is self-revealing. And thus, in the mind, the self reveals itself as in its true nature. Etad viduhu amuktaste bhavanti. And thus those who know the true nature of themselves become immortal. This will be further discussed in the next verse. So let us read the verse number 22 on the page 12. अस्तित्येवोपलब्धव्यः तत्त्वभावेन चोभयोः अस्तित्येवोपलब्धस्य तत्त्वभावः प्रसीदते. Asti ityeva upalabdhavya. So Brahman is first to be known as it is. That Brahman or God, first that there is God. That's how we have to begin. Meaning that there must be this conviction in me first that there is Brahman, that there is God, there is self, there is truth in this universe. And this is said because there are many who deny the existence of God or existence of any. There are Buddhas who say that there is no reality, it's all shunya or void. That there is no abiding reality behind this universe. It's all changing and changes the reality. Something like that they say. There are others who are Nastika who say, there is no God. And there are many. The 16th chapter of Gita describes these people. They say that there is no Satyam, there is no truth in this life. There is no Dharma, there is no righteousness, there is no God, there is no Creator. All creation is merely the product of the mating of the male and female principle, and that's when the creation takes place. There is no principle such as truth or Brahman or God, an abiding principle behind this. Because they don't see it. When they see with their eyes, it's all conflicts everywhere and all nothing but manifestation of passion, and so they think that's the reality. So here Upanishad says that first of all you should start with this premise that Ishvara is or Brahman is. How do you say that? There was some handle for me to come to this conclusion that Brahman is, Ishvara is. How do I arrive at that conclusion? Because the universe is. Experience is what? Universe is. And universe is, effect is a product. Therefore, it must have a cause. The universe being creation, it must have a cause. So, universe is, and therefore, the cause of the universe is. Remember in the morning, we were told that the universe is like a tree. And that is what we perceive. But when we perceive the tree, we know that the root must be there, because without the root, tree cannot be. Without the cause, effect cannot be. If the universe is like the tree which is manifest to me, then it points to the fact that there must be a cause because of which it is. What's the nature of a cause? Like the scientists investigate what's the nature of a cause in their own way. By subdividing the matter and arriving at whatever they think is the fundamental building block of the matter. So when we do that process, Vedantin says that take any object, such as a part, any object. So one thing you can certainly say about the part is. There cannot be dispute that the part is, right? Because had it not been that, you can't perceive it. Now you break this pot into pieces, then you have shards. Then pot is no more there. Body is there, the shards are there. Pieces are there, so shards is. Now you further break it. Pebbles is. See, name and form changes, but that easiness persists. You can further pound it to powder, and then you say, powder is. Molecules is. Atoms is. And thus, even if you reduce this, an effect gets reduced into its cause. Even though effect does not remain in form, as cause it remains, and therefore that is always persists. Remember this. In all the process of reducing the effect into cause or assembly into its components, even though the form and the name change at every stage, but the fact of isness does not ever change. Is always remains. Is it not so? The pot is because clay is because earth is because whichever way you reduce. In Vedanta, the earth reduces to, pot reduces to earth, and earth reduces to water, and water reduces to fire, and fire to air, and air to space. But is, even if the form disappears, as you take a form and keep on subdividing, it becomes so subtle that you cannot even see with your eyes. And the form disappears from your eyes. But still the idea of isness does not disappear. Because even though the form has disappeared, the cause remains in a formless state, and therefore the is never disappears. The is cannot be negated. Everything can be negated, the isness cannot be negated. And that is why isness is the phenomenal cause of the universe. Is means asti is. Therefore, the cause is. And Brahman, Jagat Karanam, the cause of creation is. So God is. That's the first premise in life. In order to know God, first acceptance is that God is. Or to know Brahman, that Brahman is. If you dismiss the very existence of Brahman and declare Brahman is not because I don't experience it, I don't see it, I don't experience it, and therefore I don't accept it, in that case you can never know. You can never know something that you already dismissed. Therefore, Upanishad says, Asti iti eva upalabdhavya. First of all, we have to have this conviction that Brahman is, Ishvara is, whatever name you want to give, God is. Self is. This is also brought about in the Upanishad, which says there are those who do not accept the existence of Brahman. Asanneva savati asad brahme deveda ched. Upanishad says that one who says that Brahman is not, himself becomes as good as not there, because when there is no Ishvara, then there is no order. When there is no order, there is no dharma. If there is no dharma in my life, I become as good as useless, because when dharma or righteousness does not remain the guiding principle, then my impulses and all sense of taking liberty alone rules me. And therefore, this fellow ultimately will become what? Nothing but an intelligent person who is controlled by his impulses, and he becomes as good as nothing, because his mind gets damaged by these impulses again and again. Becomes incapable of achieving anything in life. So he becomes nothing. Asti brahmedi ched veda santamenam tato vidurati. Same again Upanishad says, however, those who say Brahman is, they call him a saint, saintly person. Meaning you begin your life by a conviction that there is truth in the life. If you don't like the word God, say there is truth. There is goodness in life. Where is goodness, Swami? All I see is nothing but evil everywhere. Where is goodness? All I see everywhere is nothing but dishonesty, untruth. Where is truth? That is where the conviction comes. That the fundamental principle of the universe is truth, harmony, goodness. Even though outwardly it looks like the peace is the fundamental principle, even though there seems to be a lot of conflict around on the surface, but just as there may be lots of storms on the surface of the ocean, in the depth, the ocean just enjoys, the peace or the silence. Similarly also in the universe on the surface there may appear to be a lot of disturbance, even violence, even disorder, even injustice. But still, in the root there is fairness. Where is fairness, Swamiji? The people who are honest, they always are left behind, and people who are dishonest, they always get it. Where is justice? But how do you say that? Because he is dishonest and still he got promotion, he is prospering. But how do you connect that because of dishonesty he is prospering? The person may be dishonest all the time, but how can you say that he is successful because of dishonesty? How can we connect them with cause and effect relation? We just connect them. In that case, every dishonest person should become successful, is it so? And how do you know that he has got success as you think, but that is the result of his karma? It may not be the result of his immediate karma. His immediate karma is dishonesty. He may have in the past done some karma which may be fructifying now, which seems to give him the success. So the connection of cause and effect that people do is a wrong connection. To arrive at the conclusion that because of dishonesty a person progresses is a wrong conclusion. It is something good that he must have done. What he is doing now will yield its result. You may not see it. I don't see it. You may not see it because you just only see one lifespan. Now there are a lot of lifespans and there are a lot of births. Who knows what this fellow will go through in his next birth? We have no idea. And we don't even know right now, do not know what is going through his mind. And prosperity looks outside. Whether there is inner prosperity or not, there is no way of knowing. So this conclusion that there is dishonesty everywhere, disorder, is a wrong conclusion. Meaning that we do not have justification for that conclusion. It's an arbitrary conclusion. But in the long run, it all works out. It may not work out in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but in the long run, it all works out. So therefore, to begin with, there is fairness in the universe. There is justice as the basis of everything. Then only we can adopt the value of truthfulness, otherwise we cannot. If there is no truthfulness as a basis or fairness, how can I adopt that as a value? But if I have conviction that God is meaning, truth is, fairness is, justice is, then only they will become my values. And only when they become my value, that in someday I'll discover what the real truth is. What I practice now is relative truth in my life. That becomes the basis of discovering the absolute truth someday. But when can I practice truth in my life? Or fairness, or compassion? When I'm convinced in my mind that the root of everything is in fairness, justice or goodness. And other thing is that we draw all our conclusions only based on this human society. That is where, but nowhere else there is dishonesty. Humans constitute a very small minority in the whole universe, and we cannot draw a conclusion merely from that. The rest of the whole nature is in harmony. All the creatures are honest. There is no, they don't pretend to be different from what they are. They are all honest. They just show themselves as they are. They don't wear any clothes. They don't hide themselves. You can be sure that when you sow a mango seed, then a mango tree will come, not some lemon tree or something like that. You don't see that. Meaning that everywhere else, just leave aside this human society. Because of abuse of free will, you see all kinds of disorder. But where the abuse of free will is not, there is order everywhere. So there is order. This is first conviction. Then only I will adopt that order in my life. Then only there will be dharma in my life, which is nothing but living a life in tune with that order. Astityo prabdhavya. I don't give lip service, I believe in God. Believe in God means that tuning up with God. Believe in God means you believe in truth and dharma. That means there must be dharma in your life. Then only you can say, I believe in God. I believe in God, I can do all kinds of stuff. That is not, that's just lip service to God. Meaning that belief or acceptance of God completely transforms my life. Because there is dharma, there are values. That is how the mind becomes pure, it becomes inward looking. Avrutta chakshuho. Mind becomes inward looking. Astityo palabdhavya. It's not enough that God is. Finally, I must know God I am. God am, not God is. Meaning that God should be known as myself. That is the true or ultimate knowledge of God. That is the most satisfying knowledge. Even this knowledge that God is creates the great satisfaction by creating harmony within myself. Because I live a life in harmony with God. But still, it is relative harmony. The absolute harmony is created when I know that Brahman is myself. But then that Brahman is, and that I tune up with Brahman, that is the ground for ultimately knowing that Brahman is myself. So says, Tattva bhavena cha. That first Brahman should be known as is, and then it should be known as my own self. But now you have some help, Upanishad says. Second line says, Astityovalabdasya tattvabhava prasidati. The one who knows Brahman as is, tattvabhava, then Brahman, that is self, prasidati, becomes favorable to him, reveals itself to him. So tuning up with Brahman as is, and tuning up my life with the right values and attitudes and devotion, that is meant by saying that Brahman is. Then my mind becomes now a fit instrument to know Brahman is myself. And Upanishad says that Brahman also becomes favorable to me. You remember we saw that mantra, Yame Vaisya Brunate Tena Labhya, the one who chooses the Atma, to that person, before that person, Atma reveals its true nature. What is meant by choosing the Atma is that I live the life in harmony with Atma, harmony with Brahman, that dharma and values come, that is called choosing the Atma. It's not just saying I believe in Atma, I choose Atma. Choosing Atma means then implementing that in your life, tuning up with the nature of Atma or Brahman. So that is my devotion, because I transform myself. I'm willing to let go of whatever is required in order to accept that Atma in my life. So all the raga dveshas have to let go. And thus one comes closer to oneself, and it says that Atma also becomes favorable to you, meaning that it reveals its nature to you. Tattva bhava prasidati. So you have some help. Because Nirguna Brahma is not an object of knowledge. Saguna Brahma you know. How that we said earlier, that it is possible to know because it is self-revealing and it becomes favorable to me and reveals itself as myself. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, describing his devotees, Mat-chittaha mat-gata pranaha bodhayantah parasparam kathayantasya mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. My bhaktas are those mat-chittaha whose mind is always focused on me, think of me only. Mat-gata pranaha, they live the life for me and their all organs of action are also serving me. Bodhayantah parasparam. When similar bhaktas or devotees or aspirants get together, I am only the subject matter of the discussion. Kathayantasya mam nityam. And when they come across some seekers of knowledge, then they teach them. Meaning that the total life is centered on me. That's called devotion. Tesham satadayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam. Lord Krishna says that when I see that they are worshipping me with no agenda, meaning that they do not demand any reward in return, they just do it out of love for me, out of love for knowledge, love for me. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Then I grant them the buddhi yoga, I grant them the knowledge. Yena mam upayantete, by which they come to me, meaning that they know me as their own self. Tesham vivanukampatham aham ajnanam tamah. Lord Krishna says, by being motivated by compassion for them. So these bhaktas create in Bhagavan a compassion, tesham anukampa. So I am seated in their own heart anyway, their own self, I am not far away. And therefore I reveal myself as a self by removing the darkness of ignorance. I light up the lamp of knowledge. So here also Upanishad says that when you know Brahman or Ishvara or truth is, then slowly to know it as yourself becomes favorable, because the mind becomes purified, becomes inward looking, and thus knowledge becomes easier and easier, becomes favorable. That's called devotion. Devotion means creating the favor of the object to whom you are worshipping. Tattvabhava prasidati, that knowledge of identity takes place as a result of the favor, the grace that you receive from Nirguna Brahma. Nirguna Brahma becomes favorable when you know this Saguna Brahma. In short, you can say that. And when that knowledge takes place, then the last verse says, Yada sarve pramuchyante kama yescha hridishritaha asamartya mruto bhavati atra brahma samashnute. Yada sarve pramuchyante, they all wear off or leave. Kamaha hridishrita, when all the desires which are embedded in the heart, when all of them depart, when all the desires leave him. Where are the desires? Desires were embedded in the heart or in the mind. When they leave, the desire is the expression of ignorance. Who is desiring? I am desiring. What am I desiring? I am desiring happiness, the pleased self. And I think that given an object will give me that happiness, therefore that object becomes an object of desire, not for the sake of object, for the sake of happiness. So that means the desire behind all desire is for happiness. Now, however, when you know Brahman is your own self, what is Brahman? Nothing but limitless. This is happiness. So when you know happiness of yourself, then the cause of that desire goes away. Is it not so? Only when I thought that I was unhappy, that is when there was a desire for happiness. Even my feeling that I am unhappy is only because of ignorance. Ignorance completely distorts my perception of myself. Really speaking, my perception of myself should be that I am happiness. That's what I am. But ignorance not only weighs that perception, distorts the perception and creates the perception, I am unhappy. Just as the object is rope, the ignorance distorts the perception and makes the rope appear as snake. And so also ignorance of self, whereas self is happiness, creates the appearance of unhappiness. Therefore, what is my perception? I am unhappy. I am lacking, wanting. And so desires are there. From ignorance arises a sense of lack or want. From that arises a desire to become free from lack or want. From that desire arises karma. That gives to karma phala and so forth and so on. So this is called death. Avidya, I am always controlled by and influenced by or manipulated by avidya, kama, karma. Kama means desire. Desire is the result of avidya, ignorance of the self. That brings about karma. And karma brings about karma phala, the result of the action. That brings about success or failure. Success means happiness, failure means unhappiness, the raga dveshas, and the further desires. That's how the whole chain goes on. So I am caught up in that chain and I am being dragged and swept into that current and there from one lifespan to the other and to the third. Remember, mrityosya mrityum gacchati, this fellow goes from one death to the other, meaning from one birth to the other. However, when the knowledge takes place that I am Brahman, I am limitless, I am happiness, then the very cause of desire goes away. The desire behind desire was for happiness. Because of the conclusion that happiness is different from me. As I am unhappy and therefore I have to become happy. When I discover that happiness is my nature, then that false conclusion that I am unhappy goes away. So desires which arose from that conclusion also go away. Other way of looking at it is that when I know the true nature of self, I know that everything is self. Is it not so? What is the self? There is no self in the perception of a wise person. Now what can become an object of desire? Only non-self can become object of desire. When everything has become self, there is no desire object left because that object is also itself transformed into the self. Therefore, there is no desire, object of desire, so there is no desire, there is no desirer also. Kimichan kasya kamaya shariram anusanjaret atmanam chet vijaniyat ayamasmi the purusha. Upanishad says that when this one comes to know that I am asmi, I am Brahman. Kimichan, no object of desire remains because everything becomes self. No desire remains because he is now of the nature of happiness. And therefore, why should he why should he torture himself for fulfilling desires? So yada sarve pramuchyante kama yasya rudishyataha. This kama, the desire, which was the product of ignorance, when ignorance is removed in the wake of knowledge, then the product kama also does not remain. And thus when his heart becomes free from all desires, ragadveshas, impurities. Same thing is said in Bhagavad Gita. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogadam. Lord Krishna, hey Partha, hey Arjuna, when one gives up all the desires which were in the mind, Atmaniva Atmana Tushta, because he is happy by himself, with himself. The next line says, Atha martya amruto bhavati. In the wake of the knowledge, the mortal becomes immortal. You become immortal. Oh, that's wonderful, Swami. I become immortal. Means I would never die? No. But we find that people are dying, even wise people also are dying. No, what dies is the body, they don't die. Body is born, body is going to die. For an ignorant person, death of the body is death of myself, that is our problem. But one who knows the self, for that person, death of the body is death of the body. If a tree falls, it's not I fall down, because I am very clear that I am not the tree. So also when you become clear that you are not the body, death of the body is not your body, not your death. So it is not that he was mortal to begin with, he is always immortal. The mortality belongs to the body. And because of identification of the body, I think I am mortal. Mortality belongs to body. The body is my dwelling place, I am not the body. And dwelling place gets perishes when the karma comes to an end. But death of the body is not my body. Remember we saw in this mantra, in Upanishad itself, Na jayate mriyate va vipaschit. Vipaschit, the consciousness, is neither born nor does it die. Ajo nitya shashvatoyam purana is then birthless, deathless, growthless, decayless, changeless. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Even the body is killed, he doesn't get killed. So how can it be? It is like this again. Imagine this is a pot. Because pot has a small mouth. The thing is that this doesn't create that thing. If I want to talk of pot space, see, pot knows that there is an enclosure. Pot is an enclosure. It is not an enclosure, sort of. So pot is an enclosure. So when you look at the pot, that arises an idea of space enclosed by the pot, which is called pot space. So what is pot space? Space enclosed by the pot. Pot cannot enclose the space, but when you see the pot manages to create in ourselves this notion that the space is enclosed in the pot. In fact, pot cannot enclose the space. Pot is within the space, is not the space is within the pot. However, it's amazing. When I see the pot, somehow in my mind, the idea is the space is enclosed in the pot. What is space? It's called pot space. The space enclosed in the pot is called pot space. So when I see the pot, the idea of pot space automatically pops in there. It is all right that I suppose space thinks that I am pot space. The problem is here. The space looks at itself. Oh, I'm enclosed by the pot. I'm limited to the pot. I'm pot space. I'm different other pot space, and thus all duality comes in. When the pot space recognizes that I am real space, all pervasive, then what was mortal becomes immortal. What is small space becomes large space. It doesn't become, it always was. What goes away is a notion of the smallness. Similarly, immortal is my nature, but on account of identifying the body, I think I am enclosed in the body. Body is like a pot. As though the consciousness enclosed in the body, limited to the body, split by the body, and therefore I am only a spark of consciousness, different from others. When I realize that consciousness is no spark, cannot be divided, it's indivisible. This thing may sound? No, okay. So then now the space, so what he's saying here is that the part is born, is a space, part space born? Notion is born, part, there is no, part is born, part space is not born, is it? Part is destroyed, part space doesn't get destroyed. And when you break the part, the space does not get broken. Is it not so? Example. Similarly, this is like a part, this body. The consciousness as though enclosed, I think. In fact, it is consciousness, always all pervasive. Therefore, it is a birth of the body, not the birth of consciousness. Death of the body, not death of consciousness. And when the body is injured or killed, the consciousness is not injured or killed, like the space is not killed or injured by the injury of the part. So what goes away is not death, the notion of death goes away. It's not that the mortal becomes immortal. Immortal cannot become immortal. There cannot be change in the nature. If I am mortal by nature, I cannot become immortal. But the immortal takes himself immortal. So what goes away is the notion that I am mortal. So one who is immortal now owns up his immortality. Athamartya amruto bhavati. As a result of this knowledge, the one who thought himself immortal discovers that I am immortal. Atra Brahma samasnute. He attains Brahman right here. Attains. Not attains, becomes. Not becomes, discovers that he always is. But you call it still, I got it. What was in my neck, this sometimes, because of my absent-mindedness, I think that I placed this, I'm looking for this thing, And after half an hour, then somebody comes, Kumar comes, what is it? What are you looking for? I'm looking for my mala. Hey, then he says, Swamiji, it's right there. Oh, I got it. It's always there. But still, because I thought it was lost, what goes away is the notion that I lost. But the effect is, I got it. So similarly also, here he becomes Brahman. He attains Brahman. What happens is the notion of non-attainment goes away. But the result as though is, I attained Brahman. If he attains, then he will lose also. So there is no attainment. Atra Brahma samasnute. He becomes Brahman. Meaning that he discovers he is always Brahman. That's how Upanishad always concludes with what we call this is called liberation. Jivan Mukta is liberated. When it said that Atra means here, in this body, in this body. That means while he is alive, he sees himself as Brahman, he becomes liberated from all the notions of limitedness. It's called Jivan Mukta, liberated while living. Upanatra. Atra means here. Here means in this body, means while alive. This knowledge is to be gained when we are alive. It can be gained only in the human body. And that it is possible that we become liberated while we are alive, and we should be. So Vedanta is the only one that presents the idea of the liberated while living. Most other things that you will be liberated when you go to paradise or heaven or some place else, whatever be the definition of liberation, Vedanta says here and now it has to be attained. So Atra, here itself, now itself, he attains that. So with that, our discussion of the Kathopanishad comes to a conclusion. And I'm happy that we could complete the text this time, and very appropriate conclusion with the description of the Jivan Mukti, liberation while living. Becoming, what is freedom? Freedom can be described in many ways. Here's freedom from desire. But desire being product of ignorance, freedom from ignorance. By virtue of knowledge. So this is what Nachiketa asked for. Etad vidyam anushishtastvayaham. I want to gain this knowledge from you. Now, he himself established Yamaraja as a teacher. Look at this fellow. He encased his third woman and says that this doubt remains when a person dies, whether there is a self, something separate from body or not. And that I want to know as taught by you. Etad vidyam, this I want to know, anushishtastvayam, as taught by you. So that is how he became, the disciple. This Nachiketa got transformed as Arjuna says, Shishyasteham Shadhim, please teach me, I am surrendered to you. It is something like that Nachiketa says to Yamaraja. And thus it became the responsibility of Yamaraja to teach him. He certainly placed many obstacles on his path to test whether he is sincere and his conviction is firm or not. Because firm conviction is required. Vyavasayatmika buddhi, Lord Krishna says, there was a vyavasaya, a firm conviction in your mind. So Yamaraja wanted to test his conviction and he passed this test. That he was not, first of all, not discouraged. He said, it is very tough, you can't do that, even Devata also cannot gain this knowledge. Then I said, I particularly want it. If it is difficult, I particularly want it. No, but I can give, there are so many other things that you can enjoy. Why do you worry about art? No, all those are perishable things. Keep them with you. I don't even, God don't give me. Keep them with you. Tavayavahas, tavalutyagite. Let the music and vehicles and all chariots remain with you. Don't give me. So Upanishad says that is how we have not read the last mantra of the Upanishad but then this story is concluded by the Upanishad. Mrityu-prokta nachiketo salabdhva vidyamet Mrityu-proktam nachiketo salabdhva vidyametam yogvidim chakatsam Brahma-prapto virajo vimrityu anyopyamyo vidadadhyatmameva. The last verse of the Upanishad says, Vidyam, this knowledge, Mrityu-proktam, this knowledge that was imparted from Mrityu or Yamaraja or Lord Death to Nachiketa. Nachiketa athalabdhva. Gaining this knowledge as imparted by Lord Death, Nachiketa gained that knowledge. Yoga vidhim, along with the yoga vidhi, along with what is required for preparation for that knowledge, that also he learned all like the upasana of Omkara, etc. All of that also Nachiketa gained. What happened to him? Brahma prapta viraja abhut vimrityu. As a result of this knowledge, Brahma prapta, he attained Brahman as his own self. Viraja became free from all impurities. Vimrityu became free from death. Became liberated here. So Upanishad says this thing happened. That means this anecdote is completed here. Somewhere else we do not even know whether that the story sometimes doesn't get completed. That is what happened to the disciple. The disciple asked a question and teacher gave him a great discourse. All right, what happened to that fellow? Chandogya says that yes, that Shvetaketu Vijagnyau, Tadda Vijagnyau, he knew, etc. But here very clearly says that Nachiketa having gained this Upadesha from Yamaraja, he became Brahman. meaning discovered his true nature as Brahman, became free from all impurities of ignorance, and became free from death, became immortal, became liberated while here. Is it only true for Nachiketa? Is mine? I have, oh, this phone is in my bag. Wow. I'm looking there, I said, there is some problem there. You know? She's looking back at me, no, I don't have any problem. The Upanishad says, Anyopi evam yo vidadhyatmamev anyopi evam yo evam vidadhyatmam vidadhya atmam vidadhati atmanam eva. So anyopi, it is not only true for Nachiketa, but evam veda, evam vid. Anyopi evam vid adhyatmam eva. Anyopi, anybody else also. Evam vid becomes knows in this manner, adhyatmam, the self. Anybody also knows the self in this manner as Nachiketa, and you can also get liberated. So not only that, this is particular for Nachiketa, it is for everybody. Evam vid, one should become no in the manner that Nachiketa knew, in the manner that Upanishad teaches. Meaning that anybody can know. So this is Upadesha where Nachiketa becomes instrumental. And through Nachiketa, this is imparted to all the seekers of all the times. Just as for Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna became Nimitta. So it is directly told to Arjuna, but keeping all the aspirants in mind. So this is universal knowledge, which is meant for all human beings. It doesn't say born in India, X, Y, Z, nothing. It says, evam vid, whoever comes to know. Which means anybody can. And it doesn't say man, woman, or say, evam vid, whoever knows this. Meaning that for this knowledge, everybody is qualified, or everybody can cultivate qualification. I can't say everybody is qualified, but then everybody has the potential to cultivate the right qualification to gain this knowledge. So with that great message and comfort, the Upanishad concludes. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Vishwaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina